Hello, my name is James Shields, and I'm doing a quick live stream because I'm over 6 years and 4 months sober, and I wanted to talk briefly about the over 6 year journey of sobriety and what it was like, and hopefully this might help anybody watching the video to know what they're in for. Now, back in the 90s, I did try and go sober for up to nearly a year, but there are various things happened which made me stop that process. So I got to nearly a year, and then it's an extremely long story, but I went back to drinking, unfortunately, in the 90s and the noughties. But since 2015, I have not had a drink. So that's something. And in regards to the first year of sobriety and what I just said before, which is applicable because the first year of sobriety, either in the 90s or in the 2010s, 2015 to 16, the brain doesn't believe that you have stopped drinking, even though you have stopped drinking during the first year. That your actual brain won't believe you. It didn't believe me in the 90s, and it didn't believe me in 2015 to 16. When you get into the second year of sobriety, and this was the first time for me ever, 2016 to 17, then the brain it started to change its mind, even though it is the mind. Yes, even though it is the mind, it's changing its mind. And it's kind of saying, it's then saying, my God, I cannot believe it. I cannot believe it. He still has not had a drink. And it's like 14 months sober. And I think what happened to me was, by the way, I'm having this Rubicon drink, which is nice, and I think I've crossed the Rubicon. What happens in the second year of sobriety, the brain finally cottons on to the fact that you're still sober. So it will then at that point go into, well, definitely after a year and a half, or definitely after a year and 3/4, it will go into massive repair mode. It will go into massive repair mode in the second year. Now, this is the probably the most important year of all, because you have to keep yourself very, very busy. I did some video editing. I learned digital video editing, that I updated my skills with video editing. It doesn't have to be as fancy as that. It can be a jigsaw puzzle that you've got to do, but you have to keep your brain mentally focused, and also just a hobby that will keep your brain occupied, because it's going into massive repair mode in the second year of sobriety, it still wants you to drink, but it's also going into repair mode. Also, at the same time, it can't quite believe what is actually happening. So it just goes into repair mode. You've got to, but the addiction is still there. The addiction is still there. The craving is still there. And everything. So you've got to keep yourself busy, extremely busy, and push your brain to the limit. And that second year is probably the hardest of all. That really is tough. And the other thing you've got to also be doing is reading and educating yourself as much about alcohol as possible. It's almost like doing a course. It's like doing an A-level or a degree. There's a lot of new information you're going to learn about alcohol that you did not know about before. I learned so much about it and what it did to the brain. None of that is ever being taught in school. It was all completely new to me. So that's the other thing you're going to be doing in the second year of sobriety. You've got to have a big hobby. It doesn't have to be as fancy as editing videos. It can be just like I say, but you need a big hobby that's going to keep your brain occupied, and you're also going to be starting to read loads of books about alcohol and what it's really all about. So you're going to be busy 24/7 in the second year. There's no doubt about it. So that's what happened. That's what happened to me between April 16 and April 17, and it's going to be really busy. The other thing is your emotions are going to be all over the place, but they will start to stable a bit. The third year, the addiction and the craving is still there, right? It is still there in the third year. Okay, so you've got to keep busy and keep your brain occupied, otherwise you'll be down the shop having a drink. I would say that I felt the addiction to go at the end of 3 years, or I definitely felt it was not, I wouldn't say go completely, but it had lessened its power considerably, and I felt it kind of going quite a lot, almost going to the end, going completely at 3 years. So 3 years, the first 3 years are the toughest, right? However, the other thing is that every year is tough in its own way. Because massive change is going to happen to your brain. And I would say that only now I feel really stable and I'm used to it now. So every year there's going to be massive change. The other thing that happens is you will become far more aware of the seasons. Whereas before, this is what's happened to me anyway, before when you're drinking all the time, or you work in an office, or whatever you're doing, you're not as aware of the seasons as you when you're sober, right? You really notice the changing climate and nature. You really notice it. You really notice the difference between autumn and winter and spring and summer. You really notice it, and you know about like spring and summer is like renewal as well. You really see it. You really feel the differences in the seasons, and that is something you gotta watch out for. You get into the fourth year, and things are then improving. It's still hard. You've still got problems from your past to overcome, It's still a problem, but you're on the right track. At 4 years, you are on the right track, and your confidence at that point should start to improve finally at 4 years. When you get to 5 years, that is the main big one. 5 years is the main big one, right? If you get to 5 years, you've practically done it, right? You're 90%, 80, 90% of the way there, right? There has been a lot of changes actually in the last year and a half after 5 years, right? I have to say, it astounds me each year, the amount of changes. But I'm hoping that at 7 years, it kind of calms down. It's feeling like it's calming down a bit now. But if you get to 5 years, you've practically done it. You've practically done it. And if you get to 6 years, or you get to 6.5 years now, like I'm not going to say on video because you never know what's going to happen, what's around the corner. But I would hope. Let's just hope. I would hope that I would stay sober now for the rest of my life. I am hoping that, but I can't say it with absolute certainty because you never know what's going to happen, do you? In your life. But that's the hope, and I think I have the confidence and the tenacity and the brain power to now stay sober. Because the addiction is gone, your brain will get more powerful and your brain will start to improve as well. And the other thing that happens is your intuition will start to improve massively. So you won't walk into bad situations half as much. Which for me, this has been a revelation. A revelation is the only word for it. I spent most of my life walking into complete disasters. And what will happen when you get sober, the intuition part of your brain will start to switch on, and you will be able to not walk into half as much crap as before. You'll be able to say, no, hang on a minute, I'm actually not going to go to that party. I'm going to, that guy looks a bit dodgy. I'm not going to say anything to him. I'm just going to walk away. Whereas before, you just walk into things and sort of complete hell and break loose. So that's the other thing. You're very more selective. The intuition switches on. That's another thing that will happen. That will probably. I've read recently in literature that you see society is constructed in a way where females have intuition and males don't apparently. But if you stop drinking, it appears that the male brain actually has intuitive powers, and this is a shock to me, to be honest with you. And if that had been switched on, so much stress could have been completely avoided, So that is a thing that's happened to me, which is absolutely amazing. That comes late in the day. That won't. The intuition is only switched on the last 2 years, right? That comes right at the very end, when a lot of the healing has occurred. Anyway, I think I've talked enough at the moment, but that just gives you a flavour and a bit of an understanding of what it's like to be over 6 years and 4 months sober. So bye for now, and there's probably some more coming in the future. Cheers!